Torah says, beginning of Shemot, it says, "Vayakam melech hadash al Mitzrayim asher lo yada et Yosef." It says that Yosef died, and all of his brothers died. The whole generation died out already. It says that, and then a new king arose, a new Pharaoh, who didn't know Yosef. So, of course, Rashi brings the well-known machloket, the well-known dispute between Rab and Shmuel. Chad Amar Chadash Mamash. One says he was actually a new king, which means that the old one died. This is a new Pharaoh. And others say that he was the old Pharaoh that had gone through the whole history with Yosef. Yosef had ruled for 80 years, right, from age 30 till 110, 80 years. And despite 80 years of Pharaoh being the recipient of Yosef's kindness and righteousness, Yosef is the one that sustained and maintained and preserved Mitzrayim as the power that it was. Pharaoh quickly forgot all that, and he renewed the decrees against the Jewish people. And Rashi says, Asher lo yada, asa atzma ki'ilu lo yada. Again, if you're either way, and that's according to either Rav and Shmuel, because whether you say that it's actually the same Pharaoh who just changed his policies, or whether you say it was a new Pharaoh and the old one died, but certainly the new Pharaoh wasn't born into a vacuum. I mean, everybody knew it was in all the history books. I mean, that's not even ancient history, right? 80 years, everyone knew that Yosef alone was responsible for keeping Mitzrayim going. They owed their lives to Yosef. They owed all of their prosperity to Yosef. So whatever way you look at it, Rashi says, Asa atzma gilu. There's no such thing that Pharaoh didn't know Yosef. Of course, Pharaoh knew who Yosef was, and he knew all the things that Yosef did. But he pretended as if he didn't know them. So then, if that's the case, that whether you say it's a new king or it's an old king, so then the bottom line is the same. Bottom line is that, they knew that he owes the entire Egyptian prosperity to Yosef. For the sake of anti-Semitism, you could push all that away, as if it never happened. So why is there a machlokes then between Rav and Shmuel? I mean, it sounds like it's a moot point. Whether it was a new king, whether it was an old king, either way, they swept history under the rug in order to forget what the Jews did to them. So some say the idea, the Bali Musa say over here, what was the machlokes between Rav and Shmuel? Machlokes is it really possible? Is it physically possible for a human being who was the direct recipient of so much good to just sweep that under the rug and pretend that it never happened and bite the hand that fed him for 80 years? In other words, to what level could we subscribe to Pharaoh the terrible character trait of ingratitude, of ungratefulness? Whatever way you look at it, whether it's the old Pharaoh or the new Pharaoh, he was incredibly ungrateful. Kafui tov. Tremendous kfiyat tov. Question is, however, is that how corrupt could a person be? We don't know who said what. Rav said this, Shmuel said that. Only one opinion said, for a person to be ungrateful for the good that he was given, that's possible. People could have perverted character traits, evil character traits, and a person could be a kafui tov. But is it possible that the very same Pharaoh who dreamt the dreams, and he brought Yosef in, and he saw the famine with his own eyes, and he experienced the famine, and he literally experienced how Yosef saved the day. Even if you're going to say that a person's got the worst midot in the world, the most abominable character traits, is it really possible that someone could reach that level of ungratefulness, that he's living through the kindness of Yosef and all of a sudden he just forgets about it and pretends it never happened? Some say that that's, even for a goy, that's too much. Even to say for a Russia, a person cannot be that wicked. It's impossible. So therefore, some say he must have been a new Pharaoh. Not that he didn't know the history. He knew the history, but he didn't live through the famine itself. He didn't live through the famine. That level of ungratefulness is already perceivable. He didn't live through the miracle that Yosef did to Egypt. So therefore, it's possible to reach a level of kafui tov that you can ignore it. Others say no. The other one says, whether it's Rav or Shmuel, that no, nothing is beyond bad midot. A person can have a midah that's so bad that the person could literally bite the hand that fed him. And he could be the same Yosef. Pharaoh says, when I need the Jews, I'll love them, I'll embrace them, I'll honor them. But then the next minute, as soon as I don't need the Jews, you can get lost. Straight into the garbage bin, yeah? We're going to get rid of you. You can go from needing the Jews and embracing them and giving them Goshen, Tuv Haaretz, right? Paro says, let them dwell in the best of the land. As soon as you don't need them, Holocaust. It's unbelievable, but it's possible, according to one of the opinions, that a king could go from needing the Jews, and this is our history throughout, right? When the Jews were needed to fill the coffers, to fill the money, to fill the treasury of the kings, then they liked the Jews, they gave the Jews certain rights, and they gave the Jews opportunity. Then when you don't need the Jews, kick them out. Pogroms, expulsion, Holocaust, etc. And you see that today as well. When the Goyim need the Jews for their economy, so then we're given positions of prominence, we're given equal rights, etc. But in a flash, literally in a flash, Vayakam Melech Hadash, all of a sudden the entire world in a flash, based on one incident, almost the entire world, could turn on us and say, give the country to Hamas, the Jews don't deserve it. Forget about the Holocaust of 1940s. And you forget about the fact that who's really the victim over here? You know, they're the ones that started, unprovoked. They massacred 1,200 plus. All of a sudden, the world absolutely turns against and says, no, it's our fault. They don't even condemn Hamas anymore. No one even remembers in the world what they did. And everything is the Jews are committing genocide. Genocide. That's the Parsha, Vayakam Melech Hadash. And again, it's not like any of the world leaders. Hey, the world leaders still say that they back us. But certainly, the Hamon Am, the regular population, what happened? Before October 7th, they tolerated the Jews. They liked the Jews, perhaps. You didn't see many anti-Semitic parades going on. And all of a sudden, and it's not like there's, 40 years have passed, that whole generation died out, and all these people are new. No, they're the same people. The same people that up until now, they were okay with the Jewish people, they were okay with the state of Israel. All of a sudden, those very same people that appreciate it, they turn. You see that from the parsha over here. Then when a person has bad character traits, when a person is inculcated with the character trait of kafui tov, of ungratefulness, so then a person could love you 1 minute and stab you in the back the next minute. And it doesn't need a generation of our allies dying and then enemies coming in. No, the same ally turns into an enemy in a flash. That's what you see over here in the parsha. And that's why Chazal tell us that the most important midah for a Jew to have is hakaras hatov, the opposite. Because when a person is kafui tov, when a person lives his life that he's not grateful for the good that he has, so then just like he could turn on his neighbors and he could turn on his allies in a flash, he also turns on HaKadosh Baruch Hu in a flash as well. As Chazal tell us, what happened to Paro? Right? Today, Paro says, Asher lo yodet Yosef. Paro doesn't know Yosef. What happens in next week's parsha? Mi Hashem. Right? It's a slippery slope. It's actually not even a slippery slope. It's a steep slope. Once a person fails to recognize the good that he receives from others, and he's willing to sweep that under the rug and pretend as if he got no benefits from Yosef at all, so the next step is to deny HaKadosh Baruch Hu as well. And that's what happened to Paro. First, he denied Yosef, denied all the goodness he received, and the next thing you know, he's denying HaKadosh Baruch Hu's goodness and HaKadosh Baruch Hu's existence to the degree that finally Paro believes that he's God. That's what happens. And that's why from the converse you learn the plus, right? What do you learn? If ungratefulness leads to being ingrateful to others, which leads to being ingrateful to Hashem, which leads to denying Hashem, the opposite is also true. Having hakarat tov, being appreciative of every tiny thing, every little blessing in our life, even from the most minuscule source, like Moshe Rabbeinu doesn't want, in next week's parsha, he doesn't want to strike the water. Because why? The water protected him. He doesn't want to strike the dirt to bring forth a lice because the dirt protected him when it buried the Egyptian that he killed. So if a Jew could have hakaras tov, even to inanimate object, even to things, sticks and stones, so then for sure, with that sensitivity, he'll certainly appreciate and feel grateful to the people in his life, and certainly he'll be grateful to the source of all that, which is HaKadosh Baruch himself. That's the midah of a Jew. That's the midah of Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Moshe, Aaron, Dovid, and Shlomo, hakaras tov. If a person doesn't have hakaras tov, he could become as evil and forgetful and as anti-Semitic as Paro. If a person has hakaras tov, he could be as great as Moshe Rabbeinu, getting as close to Hashem as humanly possible.